Hello everyone, my name is Chris Clamp and welcome to my studio. I'm an artist who primarily focuses on oil painting, and in my channel I share information with you to empower you to be a better artist. I have also worked in and worked with the commercial art gallery world for decades, and I want to share information with you that I learned to help you grow your art business. So today I have an exciting and information-packed video for you all. This is a video that I have been wanting to bring to you, but I wanted to give it the time that it properly needs. I've shared with you a few of my tips on photography and how I use photography in a painting. Well, today I want to go even deeper with my photography secrets, and I think you are all going to learn a lot from this video. I'm going to discuss my photography process, and I'm going to discuss how I use photo editing software, in this case Adobe Photoshop, to process my image to get it ready to transfer to my painting surface. I have already made a video regarding my photo transfer method, but I will release another video soon after this video that will be more concise than the previous video, and it will tie into this video that you are watching right now. This is going to be an information-packed video in which I'm going to share with you some of my photo editing secrets. So grab a pen and paper. You will definitely want to take notes to this. Before I jump in, I want to give you all a brief backstory. Many people look down on the use of photography, and I completely understand their level of mistrust. Working from life will definitely teach you so much and will train you to be a better artist. However, photography can help you plan your artwork and also help you work when your model or reference is not available. Having better images is crucial when using photos in the studio. I released a video on how to take better reference photos, and you can watch that video by clicking up here, and the video is also linked in the description below. When you take better reference photos and know how to use those photos, they can be valuable tools to make your paintings better. See, I started to relax and trust in photos several years ago when I had a full-time job working in an art gallery. I worked 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and I would often work after hours assisting at clients' houses. Or I would be out of town working art fairs. Art fairs became a huge part of how the gallery established itself nationally, but it meant that I was often away from my home and studio for long stretches of time. By the time I would return to my studio, I would have lost where I was in my painting and the momentum would be gone. Therefore, based on all of these things, my time in the studio was actually quite limited. I'm a realist painter, and my paintings require a large amount of time and concentration to be created. And nothing is more frustrating than spending hours and days of studio time working on a painting just to realize that the shapes or proportions are all wrong when you're deep into the process. So I started to experiment with the use of photography. What I loved about it was the ability to plan out my compositions better. I could also make subtle adjustments during the photography process until I was completely happy with my design and lighting. After my image was perfectly planned and scaled out, I could transfer the image to my painting surface and begin the actual painting. The planning of the painting through photography and photo editing took a lot of time, but once I was happy with the adjustments, the rest was up to my observation skills and my ability to paint. See, even though I was using a photo, I still worked from life to assess my values and colors. The photo helped, but it was not all that I relied upon. This process allowed me to maximize my limited time in the studio so I could be more efficient and make better paintings And I loved that. Well, this is what I want to share with you. I want to share with you my photo editing secrets to help you become more efficient in the studio. So, as a gentle reminder, if you all find this information helpful, please give this video a like and also subscribe to the channel. I'm building a community here to empower you to become better artists. Okay, now, without further ado, it's time to dive in. Let's go. Okay, I now have you set up with me at my computer. So to give you a little information, I'm currently working on a commission, and it is actually 2 commissioned paintings for 1 client. The paintings are meant to function as a pair, not a diptych. These are 2 paintings independent of each other, but I want the 2 paintings to function as a pair. Therefore, I want to plan them very carefully in the initial stages so they work better when viewed together. My client had seen a few of my seashell paintings that I had painted recently, and they decided that they wanted to commission me to paint 2 paintings of 2 seashells that they had collected from memorable times at the beach with their family. These shells were important to them and were featured in prominent locations in their home. I had access to the shells briefly, so I photographed the shells in a dramatic light, much like my other paintings, and I tried many different lighting settings and backdrops until I found something very dramatic that spoke to me. I want the 2 paintings to relate, so I replicated the same look for both images. To do this, I kept my camera on manual settings and I used the same settings for the 2 images. I also had my camera on a tripod and I never moved the camera. I also photographed my images with my camera tethered to my computer so I could see the images in real time on a much larger display. Now, with the images that I want to use, I begin the photo editing process. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to use Adobe Photoshop, but you may use whatever photo editing software you prefer. I also use Affinity Photo and Pixelmator Pro in my studio, and there are many other options. Most of them will give you similar options to what I'm going to describe to you in this video. Okay, here is the folder of images that I have taken for these 2 paintings. Notice I have RAW files and I also have JPEG files. It is imperative to photograph in RAW format, and I have my camera also do the JPEG format as well, just because it will do that simultaneously, but I just use that for preview function. I don't actually use the JPEGs for anything else. I will delete those once I am done. Whenever I look through my images, I actually can eliminate most of them. I can quickly preview them and I can just kind of look and say, okay, that I don't like the lighting of that and I don't like the lighting of this, but I do find a couple immediately that speak to me, and I mark those quickly within Mac OS with this feature here that allows me to just mark them easily with a color, which is nice. You don't have to do this. This is just a little trick that I use, or you could just kind of drag them into another folder, make yourself a note in some other way. But this is just what I do to quickly make a note of what I am going to use. And now that I have made my marks and I know that I'm going to use these 2 photos here of the 2 shells, it's just as an illustrative point, see, I can pop up the JPEG quickly by highlighting it and clicking the spacebar. But if I highlight it and click the spacebar, it takes a few seconds to open the actual RAW file. So that's one reason why I keep the JPEG. Anyway, let's open this up in Photoshop. Okay, now that I have it, we have our image. There's a grid upon it. We can remove that by clicking here to add and remove the grid. One thing that is helpful with the grid is we can actually see if our image is square. Okay, so by looking at it, you can notice here that some of the grid lines line up with the edges of the box really well. They're pretty close. They may be a little off. So to fix that, what we will do is hit the crop tool, which is up here in Camera Raw. It's on the top right. Boom. Okay, notice we have a grid of 9 quadrants, 9 rectangles, whatever you want to call it. It's part of the rule of thirds is kind of what they call this cropping feature. We can apply the grid on top of that to see a little bit better. And we're pretty darn close. When I look at the line against this lip here, it's pretty close. So I'm actually just going to leave this alone. I'm not going to mess with this at all. But if you did want to, you could rotate it easily. See, our cursor has changed to like this little arrow with 2 points on it that we can use to move it around. See what I'm doing there? I'm rotating it back and forth. But I'm going to put it back where it was, which was at 0. Giving me some trouble, so I'm just going to hit Command Z to get us back to where we want. Command Z is undo. Anyway, let's go back to our color adjustments. Again, we can adjust any of this stuff like color or lighting, whatever we do. One thing that's nice is we have a numerical value here. See right there. So I can make a note of that and apply that to our next image manually. Obviously, we could save a profile too and apply that profile to the next image. But sometimes, for me at least, it's just easy to have like a piece of paper nearby and I like drag things around where I want them. And I say, okay, exposure was this, contrast was this, whatever. And I can apply that to the next image. But for our purposes, I think that I did a pretty good job photographing this image and the next, and I'm just going to leave it alone for now. Oh, one other thing I forgot to show you in the crop tool. My paintings are a square, so I want to crop my image to be a square now. So I'm going to get rid of the grid here to help me out. So under preset here, it's under full right now, but we're going to change it to 1 by 1. Obviously, that's going to be a square. Now, under this, we can slide this around to be wherever we want. But my painting, I want the box to be pretty centered. So I'm going to make sure that it is centered. So that looks pretty centered there. I'm not actually noticing one thing I don't like, and that is the box. The edges of the box don't line up here and here. You see what I mean? Whenever I remove the grid, you see this. It's just part of the actual perspective of the box. Like if we had drawn this, we would drawn those lines to be straight, obviously, but it's part of the camera distortion. Not a big deal. As we do the painting, we can correct that on the painting, or we can correct it in the next part of Photoshop, which I'll show you next. Okay, so we've made our crop. We've cropped our image into a square. We can apply any other thing we want at this moment. It's just make note of whatever we do. But most of what I do when I start to do some basic edits in Camera Raw is adjusting for any sort of optical distortion or lighting or color at this point. But I'm really happy with my image, so I'm going to go ahead and open it by clicking this, and that will process it from Camera Raw into Photoshop. Boom. Now we're into Photoshop. Okay, so one thing that is pretty important at this point is to correct any sort of things that are part of the distortion. So we can correct that within a feature which is called Transform, which you're going to find up here in the Edit field. Okay, now notice it's here and it's grayed out. We can't use it. So to use it, we need to select our image. So to select our image, we go select all. If you have multiple layers, make sure you're selecting the right layer. But you can hit select all, or the keyboard shortcut here is Command A. Now notice what happens is it gives us a dotted line that is blinking around our image. This dancing ants, I think, is what some people call it, but that is actually the rectangular marquee tool. It just used it to select the whole image for us. And now what we are going to do now is we can click Edit, Transform. Now under Transform, we have a few ways that we can distort, skew, scale, all of this to our image. The two that I find most helpful are Distort and Warp. So under Distort, what we'll notice that we can do is pull from a corner to straighten something up. Okay? Woo, we don't want it to go that far, obviously. But see, notice now the edge of that box is a little bit straighter. But obviously, when we do that, we distort our entire image. We don't want to do that. We just want to distort part of the image. So that's something to be aware of. Also be aware of the fact that as we are dragging that corner around, it can easily drag both corners, and maybe you only want to drag it one way, not both. And to correct that, if you hold down your Shift key and you drag, it will just drag it one way. Isn't that helpful instead of going both? Because sometimes you don't want to do the other way, and it gets a little squirrely. Okay, that's the distort feature, something good to know that's very helpful. But let me show you warp. Under warp, what it will allow you to do is pull it from multiple things. The distort transform only allows you to drag it from the corners, and warp allows you to drag it from everywhere. So we can like drag it from the middle here in case we had part that was like a little pin cushion distortion, or barrel distortion. So that's a helpful way to push and pull it around. And what's also nice is see the edge of our box here. If we wanted to straighten that up, we can pull it here, and it's kind of locked into this part here. It's not pulling the whole thing. It's just pulling there. Super helpful. But you know what? I don't want to do any of this. So I'm just going to hit X, cancel it. You saw that up there up top, the cancel feature. I just got rid of it. I don't want it, but I want you to know about what I'm doing, okay? Now, one thing I want to show you is our grid line will help us if we ever have to use our distortion tool. So that's under View, Show, Grid. Now, my grid here, you notice, is pretty tight. There's a lot of lines in here, so it might be difficult to see. And you can change that by going into your Photoshop settings and going to Guides, Grid, and Slices. And then you can change this here under the grid feature. Let's do like 2 because it said it's 4 right now. So see, now it's not as tight and I can see a little bit easier about what's going on. I don't need that right now, so let's just get rid of it. Again, that's under View, Show, Grid. Boom. Okay, cool. Now, this is a very important part of what we're going to do with the painting. I want to have a scaled image of my painting to transfer to my panel. My painting is 16 inches square. That is what the image is going to be in my commissioned painting. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up here and click Image and Image Size. And it's under Image Size, not Canvas Size. Don't worry about that. We want image size. So what we're going to do is we click that. Okay, you want the resolution to be 300. That's an industry standard for printing, okay? 300, it can be higher, but there's no need for it. And our image is going to be 16 inches square, okay? So 16 by 16. This is our preview window here. Obviously, we can decrease it. It was kind of a little confusing at first. So 16 inches square by 300 resolution, okay? Now, here is our image. Isn't that exciting? Okay. Now we can clean it up. That little line there is bothering me. Let's get our little touch-up tool here that looks like a Band-Aid. Here, spot healing brush. And let me make it bigger. That's bothering me. If we hit the caps lock button on our keyboard, we will actually get a preview or a crosshair. See what happens there? Preview, crosshair. There we go. That's just bothering me. Let me get rid of that. Boom. Okay, so 16 inches is large. 16 inches is not going to print on my printer. So I have a standard printer here that prints normal documents that are 8.5 by 11 inches. So what are we going to do? How do we get a 16-inch square scale image for our painting if our printer only prints 8.5 by 11? So that is another trick that I have for you in Photoshop that we can do. Okay, back in Photoshop. Now we have our actual image resized to what our painting surface will be. I cannot print an image that is 16 inches square, like I said. So let's cut this so we can get some printouts that we can use. To do this easily in Photoshop, I want to give myself some guidelines. Whoa, where did it go? There we go. Bumped my mouse. Anyway, we can do this by dragging the ruled edge of our images over our painting, over our photograph. But we don't have any rulers here. Oh, what happened? So let's go up to View, Rulers. Okay. So we've got rulers here and here. Notice on the top and side, we've got rulers. Now these are in pixel ratio, and I don't like that. I want it to be in inches personally. That's how I work, and maybe many of you would prefer that as well. So we're going to go up here, Photoshop settings, and rulers here. So we're going to change that from pixels to inches. Okay, there. Now that I find this very helpful because now look, 0 to 16. 0 to 16. So that helps me understand my size better. Okay, so we're going to give ourselves some guidelines now. So to have guidelines, you click and drag from your ruler over your image. Okay, see what I'm doing there? Pretty cool, huh? All right, so unfortunately, there's something about this that's going to make our lives easier that let me tell you about first. So let's get rid of that. And to get rid of it, obviously, we can hit Edit, Undo, or Command Z, whatever's easy for you if you use keyboard shortcuts. So again, let's go up to View, and we're going to enable Snap. If you don't have Snap enabled, enable Snap at this point. It's going to make your life a lot easier. So now when we drag this over, I don't know if you can see that on your screen, but it like snaps to the inch, that 8 point, because that 8 inches is halfway of 16. Very helpful. So snapping helps me because if I don't have it enabled, I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to go back up here and remove snap. If I drag it over here, see, it's like, it gives me everything. So I might think I'm at 8 and I dropped it and it's like 8.02. That's not going to help me out. So let's get rid of that. Let's enable snap, drag. It's at 8. See? All right, we're going to do the same this way. Okay, now we've got we have 4 quadrants that are 8 inches square. Okay, so we can now print from this. We can use this because, again, our printer prints 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper with margins, of course. So what we want to do now is copy these and print them out individually, and then we'll actually physically tape them together. So with our snapping tool enabled, I'm going to go up here and make sure we have it enabled. Yep, snap. We're going to select our rectangular marquee tool. Remember this guy up here? We're going to select that, and we're going to drag this over our image. And see, notice it snaps to our guidelines. Isn't that helpful? If we didn't have snap enabled, let me just get rid of that to show you. Remove snap. We're going to drag it. See, it doesn't snap to that. So we might think we are lined up where we want, and we aren't. See, it just kind of has a mind. It just drops where we want. You might want that sometimes. You might not. So let's go up here, enable snap, rectangular marquee tool. Boom. Now what we're going to do is we're going to copy this. And again, you could go Edit, Copy, or Command C on a Mac to copy that. So we've now got this part copied. And we're only working with one layer. See down here in our layer? If you had multiple layers, you would have to select the layer that you want to copy. But we only have one layer. This is what we want right there. So what we're wanting to do now is give ourselves a new document. So File, New, or again, Command N will give us a new document. And see, what it wants to do is default to the clipboard. That's super helpful right there. It's defaulting to the clipboard that we have, what we have copied. So we're going to create a new document, and it knows our clipboard size. It applied it. And now what we do is we paste it. And I'm going to zoom out, which is Command Subtract, or you could use your mouse wheel. So there's one of the squares. Isn't that awesome? Okay, so now we're going to hit File. Well, I mean, just to double check, just to show you. Image size. See, it's 8 inches square with 300 resolution. And now we just print that out. File, Print. And see, it's printed on an 8.5 by 11. It's showing me what it's doing here. Isn't that great? Now, I do a few different things on my printer when I go to print things out. What I do is I enable printer marks. I like corner crop marks. I don't need center crop marks or registration or anything like that. Corner crops will help me whenever I do the things that I do. So I usually enable that. And yes, you certainly may. And whenever I go to print, I usually print it in grayscale. Color, just waste a lot of ink, and you don't need it. I'm just needing to give myself the file that I'm going to do my transfer from. I don't need it in color. So save yourself some trouble. Disable print in color if you have that. And I'm going to print it out. It's obviously, my printer settings are going to be different from yours, so I'm just telling it where to print. It's on plain paper. No need to get photo paper. It's plain paper, and print it on your best quality setting. We're going to print that, and it's over here printing on my printer, and we're going to go back to our original image. And see, we have our marquee there still. Now what you can do is just deselect or undo rectangular marquee. Again, we're going to drag it. We have snapping enabled, saves our lives. I'm going to copy. Typically, I use keyboard shortcuts, but since you're watching this, I think it will be more helpful if you see me doing it on the screen. So edit, copy, file, new, recognizes our clipboard, create, edit, paste. Okay. And just to show you again, image size, it's all there. We're looking good. File, print. Okay, and it should have saved my crop mark choice. No, it didn't. Corner crop marks. All right, let's double check our printer settings, grayscale, and this is what I want here. Okay, print. All right, printer's doing the second one, and here we are. I'm going to show you this again. Undo rectangular marquee, and it takes me back here. So select our rectangular marquee tool, snap it in there, edit, copy, file, new. It's recognizing our clipboard, create, edit, paste, file, print. I'm not even going to check the image size because I know it's right, because that's what we've been doing. Corner crop marks, that's what I want. Print. And yeah, we're not printing in color. We got this setting here is what I want. Print. And we're going to go back to our image. That's what I do. Undo the rectangular marquee. Select our rectangular marquee and go over this. Snap it. Edit. Copy. File. New. That's what we want. It's our clipboard. Create. Edit. Paste. File. Print. Corner crop marks. Print. And just to double check, yep, we got that what we want. Print. Okay, cool. So we have my printer going over here right now. I think it may have just printed the last image. Nope, there's the last image. And we, as you saw, we took our original photograph and we made our edits, and we made the cuts essentially by using the guide marks to then be able to break up our image to reassemble it physically, which is what I want whenever I'm going to make a transfer. Awesome. It just finished printing out those 4. Looks good. And see, what the printer crop marks do is you have this little ticky mark on the edges, and that helps you line up your straight edge ruler when you are making your cut. Now that I have my ruler and my utility knife, I'm going to make some cuts alongside these ticky marks. What I typically will do is just line up the ruler along those ticky marks and cut within the image, not the entire length of the page, and I'll show you why. Like if we had cut that entire page off there, it might be difficult for us to line up some of our cuts as we're moving along. But we shouldn't have that issue on this printout. But if we were doing some other print and it was kind of a light colored background, those ticky marks will really, really help. And not cutting the entire page off will also help us get a very clean edge, what we want. As you can see, as I've cut, see the page is getting a little squirrely on me, and it might make it a little difficult to line up. The ticky marks can help with that. In this case, since we have a dark edge, we can line that up pretty good on our own. Okay, there. We have our first. This is garbage. We can get rid of that. And I'll just go ahead and cut the rest of these, and we can line them up. Okay, now that we have all 4 of our images for our painting, we can tape these together. And I'm just going to do this with your standard clear office tape. This is the clear office tape I use. Not sponsored, so I'm not naming it, but you know what it is. Typically what I will do is tape together the rows. So sometimes I'm doing a larger painting and I'm planning this out and I have multiple pieces of paper. I will tape together our individual rows and then tape the individual rows together. Okay. Now I'm trying to put the tape in areas that are going to hold it firm, but also might not cover up too much information when I do my transfer, because as you do the transfer, which I will show you, or you've already seen me do before, the thicker your pen or pencil is having to press through something, then it could affect your transfer. Okay, so I've got a row there. All right, let's do this row. And I'm just lining up my edges. And you can kind of see how that lines up within the picture. And now I can tape these 2 rows together, and I find that gives me a cleaner appearance. Yeah, that lines up pretty good. Start with that piece of tape there. And I'm just going to put a couple in this negative space here. That's not important, obviously. There we go. This is a scaled out picture of our painting now that we'll make a transfer from. Now, this is the moment of truth. So join me at the easel. Like I said, this is the moment of truth. With our image taped together, we now have an image to scale of our painting. We can tape this to our painting surface and see what we think. Sometimes I get this far and realize that my subject is too large or too small and can easily make adjustments. Seeing it physically on the surface really helps with this final decision. Now, I'm super happy with the scale of this image, and I'm definitely ready to make a transfer of this image onto my painting surface. My next video will be on the transfer of this image to the linen panel, so please stay tuned for that. I hope you all liked this video and that you found this information helpful. Like I stated earlier, this technique may be too tedious for some, but once you get the handle of it, I find it incredibly helpful due to its control and level of quality. If you've enjoyed this video, please click the like button. That will greatly help other artists like yourself find helpful information like this. Also, leave a comment if you have enjoyed this video. I love hearing from y'all. And if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer any questions that you may have. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. I'm working hard to put together helpful information like this to empower you and educate you to be better artists. Also, please share this information with your art friends. It is so exciting to see this community grow, and that's all thanks to you guys. Remember, when one of us grows, we all grow together. Thank you, everyone. Happy painting.